Welcome to part 2 of our coverage of week 7 of 4YMM, the 4 years of Mario Maker Project. This will be pretty much a direct continuation of where we left off on a previous stream when we played 5 out of the 8 courses that were made available in this week's set. We're going to be continuing with numbers 6, 7, and 8, hopefully doing them all with a full cleanup of the optional cake objectives along the way. And let's just get going. Number 6 is going to be from Sorrent, and it's going to be Unnatural Tornado. Or something is wrong. What's going on in this desert? Now, we are following the order that is prescribed and carefully programmed on the 4YMM website and introduced this week by a lovely trailer that was put together by Lecter and Duffy. And the lengthy description on the website has a little bit more to say about this level. Describes this with the following, that twisters and spike balls are the main elements of this level. There are various other actors behind the scenes, but the level is structured so that the player can only see the twisters, wind, and the spike ball. The first thing Sorrent used in Mario Maker 2 was the twister, an element they're very passionate about, so they challenged themselves to see how well they could use it. Now that, of course, will strike most people playing and making in this game as fairly unique in that the twister, I think, is definitely a less popular realm of expertise when it comes to specific elements. So, very interested to see how this is going to look in the hands of a specialist to the tune of a clear rate of just under 4%. Let's go. Now, not much going on in the introductory room that we can see on screen. Obviously, nothing that would be loaded in there would be relevant. Yeah, we see an off-screen twister. And yeah, pretty straightforward introductory sequence that just gets you accustomed to the bounce physics. Oh, having a single floating coin coming out of a block is not something you see every day. I think this is mostly just a warning zone at this point. And here the trick is just to sneak around such that you don't get carried over by the semi-solids, but it looks like the twister follows you, which sort of indicates that we have something down there moving it, which maybe a mole. It wouldn't be a twister stacked directly on a mole, but maybe like stacked on top of a stump on a mole or something like that. Anyway, just need to handle some of these obstacles with care. Quite tempting to head down to that 10 coin, but it looks quite perilous. Usually I do go for all of the optional objectives like that, but oh, I see. We're going to have some invisible activation. And that's going to mop things up for me. I can definitely tell already that I have a certain design kinship with Sorrent in terms of having this affinity for the off-screen setups that are also mixed with the invisible block activations, and also just a kind of pacing that allows you to stop and observe and think about how something could be approached safely if you just sort of activate the right devices with care. Now, having the Shelmet here means that the icicles will not be a threat so long as we don't make the mistake of approaching them from the side. It also tells you quite clearly that you are unaffected by the twisters so long as you are hanging on to a vine, something that I think we usually know intuitively. And of course we have lost our access to one helpful element. A new Shelmet is going to await just after, of course, the 30 coin that I completely failed to get despite how readily available it was. And we're going to come down here and something is going to happen with the scroll break. Oh, it looks like it is Boo based. Interesting. Now, the Boos would kind of explain how the Twisters manage to follow you around, except I don't think the Twisters can be mounted directly on the Boo. It looks like they are overlapped somehow, and I can't exactly see what the setup is. But it is something to think about. And it looks like it is going to be a timing-based challenge, where we just have to sneak over gently when the Twisters are down, such that we don't get bumped. And yep, nice short bounce there, and that's going to bring us over to the scroll break over here, which will give us just enough time to react and get around safely. So far, no sign of the optional objective, but we are still fairly early on in the level. We know that it's not going to be something involving pink coins because there are none. And yeah, this is a level that does reward a certain amount of care and patience. Actually fascinating to see how reliably stopped that spike ball is. That's just going to be the relative positions of the Twisters moving it up. That does affect that. Now we're going to start directly in this segment at the checkpoint. So really just a minor difference in spawning time from when you drop through the door versus when you arrive via the checkpoint, and yep, just need to be fairly careful about the Twister that is sweeping over side to side. And we need to stay relatively centered there, and I think that will probably be the trick that makes that a lot more doable. Yeah, this segment here, generally avoiding the Twister is a good idea. This segment here, staying centered, is not going to be great because of the way that the Twister actually whips you over to the right side. Yeah, even as a player who has been doing this game for a long time, there are a lot of things about Twisters that I think are difficult to learn systematically, simply because that kind of knowledge is often required in terms of being able to navigate Twister-based levels very accurately. Mike Universe, welcome. No worries whatsoever about lurking. You're perfectly welcome to do so. Yeah. Glad to have you here. And okay, this time we'll try to drop in, and yeah, clinging onto the vines is what we need to do there. Once again, getting whipped by the Twisters in such a way that we'll need to figure out how to prevent that, or to, in that segment, make better use of the vine cling in order to get out of that. Now, the first time you have the Twister whipping you being a thing, I don't know really what you can do with that, except, of course, the idea there was just to jump over it and not make contact. I think it's probably the best approach, given that you do get enough height to do that safely and dodge the spike ball that comes down immediately afterwards. Also, you can see from the plus and minus up top that this does indicate that it is, of course, based on on-off states and presumably a conveyor belt that is underneath. Once again, here, I think clinging onto the vines that are peeking up by one tile is probably the best approach to avoiding the Twister whip entirely, while maintaining position in order to clear the next spike ball that comes hurtling towards us. And yeah, Mike Universe, glad that you are enjoying the stream. If you want to stay updated with what's going on with the stream, we did just yesterday finally open up an associated Discord channel. Not much activity there, and I'm trying not to make it anything that's, you know, very spammy. It's going to be rather quiet for the time being, but it is where I'm going to be posting scheduling updates, because our programming does have a way of shifting sometimes on very short notice. No need to be there, of course, if you would prefer to just lurk around on Twitch as you've been doing, so enjoy this however you like. And yet, we had been asked to set up a Discord channel for some time, so people could actually have some line of communication when the stream is not live. And so I've been quite happy to get that going. Whoops. Okay, let's get back into this. Surprisingly easy to bump your head on that corner. I had successfully gotten to 50 coin on the first few tries in that segment without really worrying about it at all. Also, I can really tell that this is a maker, Sarent, who kind of thinks like I do in a way. You've seen 3 bonus coins in this level that are in order: 10, 30, and 50. Kind of like the NSMB 3-coin system. That's pretty much exactly how I implemented in my levels as well, and so... Oh, that's kind of a problem. Let's watch the rhythm carefully. There we go. Just rhythm-based, and the level gives you enough information to discern that for yourself. Aha! SMB2, Fire Flower, and Super Ball. So I guess we get a power-up choice for the next segment. I'm going to stick with SMB2. But Super Ball could be quite interesting, given how rare it is just to see it at all. Oh, we found a cake. That was quick. And actually, it looked like that there was almost a certain pick-a-path involved there, in that we found a cake on this end. And I don't know what the other side would have been. I almost want to replay this just to see the other side, unless there were some identical exits there. But it looks like this yellow pipe here is just there as the base of the cake. And let's maybe leave some kind of message. Well, I would leave some kind of message, but usually... Oh, I see. The boos actually have a dialogue bubble. Look at this. This is cool. The boos have a dialogue bubble saying 4YMM, which is an aesthetic thing I recognize from playing Sarent's Link level over the weekend, where Sarent had a clue that was buried in a dialogue bubble just like this one, using the tracks to overlay that design. So let's leave a bit of a comment just as proof of cake. Sarent being from Japan, I think it's probably best to maybe leave a card. Be careful. Let's do that. Since, of course, we had boos that were powering the entire layout. And we'll continue from there and see what's going on, because yeah, it looks like that was pretty much the only exit pipe. So I wonder if there was any additional secret. There might not be. Not all the levels have one. Yeah, I think that was maybe the only drop zone. Unless, of course, there was something coming out the door at the end, like a secret path that would take you through there. Kind of tempted to just run this once more to take a look at that properly. Although one thing we could do, because the preview screen would let you know if the door is connected to anything interesting. So let's see if we might have missed anything significant, but it doesn't look like anything jumps out at me. We did find a cake in a 4YMM, so we can see here how some of the off-screen layouts are being done, with the twisters, of course, just out of view, and also the conveyor belts powering quite a bit. Not that we can see very much at this zoom level. But yeah. So that was a quick warm-up going into level number 7, which is the one I was most looking forward to in this set. which is Crawl Space by Saku. Saku has made some very interesting puzzle levels in the past. We saw some of them this weekend, but had not uploaded in quite a long time. Had not uploaded since last September, I think. This was a puzzle that already came with a bit of a reputation as something that is supposedly exciting for puzzle people. And it has a rhyming description that says, "All but blind in his chamber hole waits lonely old Mr. Mole." The lengthy description says pretty much the same thing, except that it adds, "Knowledge is power in this sprawling, crawling Puzzlevania adventure." Now, Saku is somebody who cites as an influence Toki Tori 2, which is very much a kind of Puzzlevania level where knowledge is power, where the way that you progress through the level is based on understanding mechanical interactions. Toki Tori 2 is a game that we had featured on the stream a few months ago. I had only played really just the first 2 hours or so and gotten through the first zone, so we had in some ways barely seen it. But it is very much based on a principle that instead of having locks and keys that are necessarily based on very discrete actions, you are mostly thinking about understanding the layout of the level and understanding things that can happen, like different interactions in something like a physics system, as you would see in games like Breath of the Wild. I wonder if collecting those coins might be a bad idea, just from a perspective of visual guidance. Here we see some of this being activated already. It just means that if we eventually break these blocks are going to be permanent. I don't wonder how that's going to play a role, but let's maybe leave that for the time being. And we see more observation, as well as a segment here where potentially we could have something fall out. We did see moles that were spawning up top because we could see one crawling up that column. So I think a lot of it will be understanding how to connect the different blank spaces that are inaccessible to Mario in the event that they are accessible to the mole. Let's drop down here just to take a look. This will eventually be some form of progression, something that you can break. And yeah, you can tell that this is built as a vertical zone, of course, just given the spacing. That it is pretty much using the full 2 screens of width that are available. Just going to measure this out for a second. That screen went all the way up to this block here, so if there is nothing off-screen horizontally, that block right there should be the end, and it is. So it's a full build across the 2 screens wide that are afforded in the vertical subworld. So we had the doors up top, we had the doors down here. We'll play around with matching them later. Minibar, if you're not the only one watching, sometimes the viewer numbers take a little while to update. We did just start up, so I'm expecting a bit of a lower viewership to start. But anyway, welcome. Good to see you here in your full barfy form rather than as a borf. Looks like we'll eventually have to relocate them all. And yeah, Minibarf, as I was telling people in the day session, we actually did start up a Discord for this server just yesterday. Pretty quiet for now, but it's mostly just a way for me to communicate outside of the channel. And yeah, so we have the mole that we can probably take with us. No, we can't, because the mole disappears through the door. Okay, that's fine. Knowledge is power. And these are just reset doors that are connected. So let's figure out where we want a relocation to happen. SMB2 took you through here. Now we are, of course, back in the main world. Looks like the mole would be rideable across here. That's the thing we want to do. And also just to lead its position, as we usually do. Down arrow just tells you this is going to be a high jump. Also, the mole here tells you that it's usable as the kind of platform that would give you a pipe gate. And this looks like it's a reset, but also one that gives you a visual clue. 2 of those blocks plus the ice blocks plus the red block. It kind of indicates, I think, that if you manage to toggle the on-off state, then you can actually release a mole from one of the columns that is coming up, and that some kind of on-off toggle is therefore what we might be looking for. Now that's just a guess. It's not something I'm clear about yet, but the fact that we want to unlock access to a mole in the original segment in the vertical subworld is something that we should be keeping in mind, because, of course, coming through here, one of the first things we did was pop the on-off. And yeah, it makes you go all the way to the end. This is a very interesting level in that it makes you go all the way to the end to let you know what to do, then sends you all the way back. Now, if you were doing this in a speed run, you wouldn't need to do any of that, really. You just get SMB2. Yeah, you would. You would still need to get to the end, or at least to the midpoint, to grab this mole here. So the speed path allows you to skip the knowledge clues and then pop a mole back here, for example, to replace the one that we just despawned, as long as you remember to toggle the state to off. And so the Toki Tori inspiration is quite visible here. One of the things you enjoy about this level, Minibar, is the use of visual clues in combination with shared language. Yes. Yes. Yeah, as I was saying, like, you know, when Saku says that this was sort of Toki Tori inspired, I can really see where that's coming from now. In that a lot of stuff seems to be optional in the way that it is knowledge-based. Now, toggling the on-off switch gives you access to SMB2 in this zone, which is new. It potentially gives you access to a mole coming up the column, although I think that is now maybe some kind of spawn blocking that is now going on, the change of state. So I'm going to have to come through here and see, first of all, if this toggle does anything useful. Probably not yet. Other thing we could be trying is anything to do with the high jump. Also, taking damage there does get us through. And it doesn't get us through because of SMB2. Okay. So, looks like we do want to do some kind of mole ride. Now, I actually don't know if... I didn't think that anything you carry with SMB2 can be taken through the pipe. I would assume it's not. But that would explain why you have access to 2 moles here, if, for example, you were supposed to dump one and transport the other. I didn't think you could take enemies across subworlds, but sometimes my game knowledge is a little bit off. Also, you can just respawn one. No, you can't, because... I see. Okay. I had to keep track of where I was in the level, which is sometimes a bit of a challenge with something big like this where you are about to time out. But yeah, this is still SMB2 dependent. So what was going on here then? We have no mole respawn up there. We therefore have no access to come out here. Yeah, I didn't think you could carry them through pipes, because you can't carry objects like that through doors either with SMB2. Oh, we have tried both doors. I mean, they're just matched. At least, no, they're not. It's an illusion, isn't it? It is an illusion. Okay. Okay. Wait a minute. That opens up an interesting idea. And it's one we'll have to think about, because let's say we go through the doors here, assuming that the reset is I was wondering about why we weren't getting the mole respawn in the main world. Like the horizontal main world. And that seemed interesting to me. I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff that needs to be parsed about this level visually, and I just could be totally wrong about half the stuff I'm saying. It looks like, of course, the ending condition is that we'll eventually want to have this in an off state as we come back up, so it is about digging our way back through the vertical world in an off state. Also, perhaps eventually coming back up through here to deal with that other mole, which may or may not be a bonus objective because of the way that you would come up here, you would be in an off state, you would see this open, and that at that point you kind of have the option to come through here. Yeah, Minibarf, I don't know if you've played through the complete set from this week already, or if you playtested this one. This is not one of the ones I playtested. Okay, I see what's going on here. That if you have this in the off state, you should be able to have a vine that comes through the middle all the way. Ah, yes, you did playtest this one. Okay. Yeah, I playtested some of the previous puzzles, but not for this week. Also, I did not check this door earlier. I think it's probably just a reset. But the thing about resets is that you never quite know if they're going to do something with camera position. Looks like the lower door is probably a reset as well. Yeah, so I can see what's going on with the blue block in this column that is currently deactivated. And yes, this was what was in my way. We'll have to think about that. Mike Universe thinking of binging them all? Yeah. It's always a good idea to just catch up on them at whatever pace you so choose. I would say that this week has been the one so far that is on pace to take me the longest, but that's because I spent way too much time on some of the cakes in the earlier levels. Okay, so for example, let's say I go through the doors. So when I go left to right, that's just a reset door. And, oh, okay, so the mole does... Right, because the mole needs to pop out by proximity. So that's the thing I'm not doing, I think, is that there are certain locations where I should be able to pop a mole. And I'm not doing so because I'm not within range. But it's one of those levels where I feel like, you know, my knowledge of mole spawning is probably going to be much better at the end of this level compared to the beginning. And that until I reach that point, there will be a certain amount of fumbling around. Okay. Thing up here at the moment. This is kind of curious in terms of why you would want to do that and lock yourself in. Like you would expect some kind of interaction to be enabled by that. Possibly with the way a mole spawns through the column. Don't remember what the starting position of the mole that was visible here earlier, what it would have been. So it could be that there was something about the visual clue in the room with the deactivated red block earlier that we needed to know, because it showed us that segment in the illustration. This segment up here, it was shown to us. And it could be that we're missing something about it. Okay. So... let me think about this, because if I go back and I do in fact... oh, here's an idea. Here's an idea. Okay, so let's say we grab another mole here. And Oops. We just need to do this by proximity. There we go. Yeah, no, that's the thing I was saying earlier was an illusion. It's totally not an illusion. It's just proximity. I was thinking that there was maybe something tricky going on with the reset doors, such that they weren't really reset doors. That's not true. Okay, we're going to take the on state here. The reason we're going to do that is because we know that in the on state, we're going to have certain things like access to a mole that takes us across there, if things are still working as they did before. Certainly hope so. At least there was previously. I don't know what a spawning position would have been. I was hoping that coming back here with the on state would do something useful, because one thing we do have access to now that we didn't before is SMB2. That does not seem correct, although let's hit this reset door and see if that does anything for me. Okay. We know that taking damage here is not going to be useful because we are gated by clouds, or at least we were with the off state. Let's check this just to be absolutely diligent. Okay. Yes, we're going back for more SMB2. Or we can just hit the block here. Let's again go back for the mole. Let's take a look at the clue at the end once again. Or at least, we would need a mole to do so first. Whoops. No, hang on. Of course, as with a lot of puzzle levels on this scale, a lot of the perceived length is going to come from the fact that timeouts do happen when you're just in the exploration phase of figuring out what's going on. Just pop our way back up. And just take a look once again to see if I am missing something else about how to read this. So it looks like we should think about this in relation to the other visual clue that we have had so far about the mole spawning position. So if we think about this as matching the other track box that is centered around a single hard block, the hard block being the spawning position of the mole that we see you know, when we have the mole appear, that it seems to be indicating that when you have the off state, the red block should be a mole spawning position, or at least a position in which a mole becomes available, because it matches this illustration here. Now, if that's the case, why haven't we seen that in action yet? Because that's the question. Because our ultimate objective right now is to acquire another mole that allows us to cross the munchers as we did in the horizontal segment just now. So the question is, what do we do with the mole spawn? Hey, Terminator, welcome back. So, the thing we want to do with the mole spawn is what? I mean, it's obviously this red block to the right side. That is the one that we should be regarding as suspicious. Terminator, I'm not doing viewer levels today, but the plan is to currently do that as we've regularly been doing on the Thursday stream, and if you want updates on that, we now have a Discord server associated with a channel where I do post scheduling updates about what each of the Mario Maker streams will be for. If somehow I figure this one out very quickly, we only have one more level after this, and so it is possible that I'll open a queue, but right now I can't promise that because I have no idea how long the puzzle will take me. Ah, you added a new level to your series. Yes. You've had a number of the Master Sword Escort series by now, so I think the last one you sent me was like a number 6 or 7 or 8 or something. But you might have started a totally different series since then, so can't say that with any confidence. Looks like a roadblock for me so far, and let's pay close attention to whether we have any potential mole spawning positions. The roadblock for me so far has been... Aha. Getting around a particular segment that is lower down, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. You can see a mole come up in this segment, and that a mole would ultimately give us access to this gate here. Now I have checked those reset doors. I have checked this guy here, which I feel like if you had something like a mole ride. So for example, if you had a mole here, and if you had SMB2 and you ducked on top of the mole, and then you peeked your head above here, then your head, as somebody 2 tiles high, like in SMB2 Mario riding the mole, would not activate the blocks. And so like the way you would get through this is eventually you would have a mole available, you would have SMB2 suit on, crouch, get rolled over here on the mole, and then you go up while bypassing this row. That's something to keep in mind for later. Obviously, we may be quite far away from actually interacting with that in any meaningful fashion. This is something we'll eventually want to break in either Super Mario form, which is interesting to me because it indicates to me that there is something we can do, potentially, as Super Mario without SMB2, assuming that we have a way of getting up here. We don't currently have a way of getting up there. I don't know what reactivating the on-off switch down here is for. And yeah, Terminator, exclamation mark Discord was in fact in the stream title, so thank you for that, and you are perfectly welcome to dump some level codes in the level code channel there if you want to just give me some advance warning of what I will be in for. So yeah, currently the roadblocks coming out of this segment are what? Roadblock number 1, trying to get back through here. Roadblock number 2, figuring out how to spawn a mole such that we can eventually get through here. We may be taking a mole down from up above much later. 3, figuring out how to get higher in this segment such that we can go up and smash the bricks with our head, either as SMB2 or indeed just as Super Mario. 4, figuring out what to do with the on-off switch that's just sort of in the corner here, as though you were supposed to whack it and trap yourself. Like there might be some kind of timed challenge, for instance, to escort a mole all the way up the column, although I don't see why you would want to do that, because if you escorted a mole... Oh, I see, because of the blue block. That explains a lot, actually. So let's say you had a mole that was spawning low down on this column. It goes up, it goes through the red block, it goes up and hits the blue block, it pops out and gets stuck. And then nothing happens to it unless you hit an on-off block and kill it. If, however, you manage to change an on-off state with good timing, or by some other means, you would be able to escort the mole up through both the red block and the blue block. That's something I've seen in some mole-based platforming ideas in the past. The question is, where do you do that such that that is in view of the camera, and we see a possible answer to our left? That still doesn't answer what this guy is for. But yeah, in order to have a mole spawn and be escorted out of there safely, it must be able to get through the blue block. The other thing is that if a mole spawns in the red position... I'm gonna have to think about that in terms of thinking about like what on-off state we want when we come back here. Because obviously coming back here with the off state gives us access to more SMB2 mushrooms and is sort of the implied progression. See if that's actually the case. Okay, so we know that gives you a mole by proximity. That's something that I was thinking about earlier when figuring out how to spawn a mole on the other side, but let's take a peek and see what happens. So we see one red column over there, not really useful yet. We see the red column to the right. That's what everything was hinting at earlier. It doesn't seem like that will give us anything close to the range that we want. Yeah, still don't know what this guy's doing. This is going to give us vision. Vision's not really that helpful right now, except if we get into a position such that, let's say, with the red block available, maybe. Let's think about where a mole could possibly spawn. We have not seen any signs of a mole spawning in this column. That's the thing that kind of concerns me right now, because I was hoping that if we have a spawn fairly low down in this column, then red blocks would do something. Now, it seems like we're also pretty much at the bottom here. I mean, this is clearly scroll stopped all the way along the bottom layer. The thing that this level kind of bends your mind with is that it's decorated in such a way that whenever you see the scroll stops, you see hard blocks everywhere, and you just don't know if they'll be relevant to any kind of scroll break, although it doesn't look like it's very much of a scroll break-based design, and we've already determined from the camera positioning that the left and rightmost tiles are indeed the horizontal boundaries of where this level can go. So, question now is, what could we possibly be missing, and how can we progress? Yeah, so it looks like eventually we want to be able to pluck these. That requires us to have a mole that gets us through here as SMP2. The other thing that could happen is if we have some way of escorting the SMP2 mushroom, take a damage boost, grab the other mushroom, and get out of the way. That doesn't seem particularly intuitive, and I think mole control is probably likelier thing to do. According to Clue, the spawn point should be the red block, and I've come back through here previously with the other state as well. But I think I wasn't really using that clue in conjunction with the fact that the mole spawn, obviously we don't want it to get trapped in the blue blocks slot, and so figuring out how to escort it safely out of there should be our primary concern. So let me show you once again how I'm reading that clue. Because so far I'm reading it by matching it to the first mole spawn clue that we have, which is this one here. Okay. Yeah, in Mike Universe, I think an analytical approach is probably necessary to have fun with puzzles. And I have a lot of fun with puzzles. I won't necessarily claim to be good at them, but yeah, you see the box. The box tells you that the center tile of the box is a mole spawn point. So I'm reading that, and I'm thinking, okay, surely that must mean, when we see the other clue, that red block is a spawn point. So I'll just show you what I mean over here. Red block is the spawn point, which means that if, for example, we know that we can't get here to this side when we have the state as off, because off gates off this entire zone. But when we come back through here... Oh, did I not check this location? Okay. No, that's where I came in. I'm going right to left. Yeah, when I come back through here, here's what happens. Is that... Whoops. If the state is on, I can survive back in the main zone with SMP2, which is going to be new and is a new form of progression. And let's assume that a mole is placed in the editor on top of that tile. Here's the thing. If a mole is placed in the editor on top of that tile, then you should theoretically have two different behaviors between an off and on state. With an on state, like, one thing I'm unclear with from an editor perspective is whether the mole would therefore be completely spawn blocked. And I don't think it would be. Like, it would spawn there and would have the ability to rise, right? But if there were actually a mole that was able to spawn on that red block over there, right side, then if we had come in with a state set to off, if it's placed in that spot in the editor, it would have just fallen right off, right? And would have fallen out of that spot to where we are right now. So I feel like despite the clue in the other room, I do not really have the evidence to say that that's the mole spawn point. Because, like, in the off state, it would just appear, wouldn't it? At least that's how I'm understanding it. I may be completely misreading it. I'm kind of accounting for the possibility that I am totally misreading it. The analysis is refreshing. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoy it. I mean, I find that I play these levels much slower than I would if I were doing them off stream. Because I'm spending a lot more time, like, talking about things that I'm thinking about and, you know, sort of spelling out my visual observations rather than just kind of glancing at them. So it is a bit of a slow-going process, but particularly when designers are actually in the room with me, like when they send me puzzle levels for viewer levels, I find that it's important from a playtesting perspective, even with things like trolls, to be letting them know, like, this is the way I'm reading it, because it seems to be very important information as a puzzle designer to know how the reading is going on. Yeah, I don't have a way to... Just read this clue once again. I don't have a way to come into the clue room with the block in the other state, and I don't think I need to. But let's see the dimensions of this. 5 by 5. Yeah, I mean, that's clearly the spot, though, right? Like, I am looking at the right place. In that you have... Oh, except there is that part that was at the very top of the level, where we have seen a mole spawn near the top of the vertical section as you're sinking your way in. But we know that's the eventual destination we want, right? Like, it's not the destination we want right now because we have no way of getting back up there. And so I need to think about, like, how we can progress given the current position that we're in. Yeah, Terminator, I'll be sure to check that out so when I have the time to do that. And... okay, so... yeah, so far, it's more that, you know, when I'm in this position here, I don't know how to dig myself out. And I don't know what that's about. Except, as I said before, I feel like that is a bit of a mole control sort of challenge. Because if the mole has already spawned and has worked its way up to blue, then what happens? You release? Yeah, because let's say you tap that block and then come up here. Now, you know that the mole is going to follow Mario's position horizontally. I need to, I think, restart the level and really observe how that position looks on the right side. Like, I need some more observational knowledge, and just running around here isn't going to do that for me. Okay, so, yeah, mole spawn. We see a bit of a clue in terms of mole spawns here as well. I don't know if that's going to match anything else in the level. But yeah, there's going to be a lot that goes on all over the place here observationally. You should just kind of go back and forth through doors. For its own sake as well. Yeah, that's going to drop you through. That's going to be the eventual exit point. In that we're going to be sending a vine all the way up there. Let's take a look at the right side. Stay up here for the time being just to scout once more. We eventually have a passage coming back through here. Eventually have a state switch here. So you see the tracks that are on the right side over there. That's suspiciously a mole spawn spot. I think maybe part of this is that I need to think about where a mole is spawning in when we are coming down to level, like the mole that spawns in early on in this segment. And I need to read the layout in such a way that I can guide the mole off screen to a position where it becomes obtainable, but not until I have SMB2, because until I have SMB2, that's not actually useful. So let's take a look at the mole spawning position very carefully. It's here. Here, and we have some way back up. We have a reset door to give it to you once more. Yeah, it looks like there's some kind of guidance that needs to happen in order for you to potentially drop the mole out of there. I mean, it looks like I'm supposed to eventually either have a mole ride or have SMB2 take me up through this segment such that this mole is reachable, but so far it's the only mole spawn I see. And it's coming through a block that looks like, or a segment that looks like this, which may or may not be vital information. Let's pop this back open. Okay, so we see the positioning of the blue block down there. That might eventually be important in terms of getting a mole to come up. Let's not go too far down yet. We don't want to do anything irreversible. Coming down here is irreversible. These are vines over here. We already kind of thought about how we might want to approach that eventually. Yeah, so we have an irreversible drop over there. Let's take a look at what's down here from this perspective above. The nature of this level is a crawl space, as the title suggests. Seems to indicate to me that we will eventually be doing some mole guidance through areas that are not necessarily accessible to me. So yeah, I feel like we need to be much more sort of visually attentive than we have been thus far. Okay. Because getting the mole up there does what? We know that if there is a drop zone, I mean, this place is already completely walled off. So yeah, there would be no particular reason to send the mole up here from the blue block, or through the blue block, when we are already down below. At least not that I see just yet. So gonna come back down here again. Still need to figure out this guy. I feel like this guy is the key. Something going on with that. Also, we see... What else? There's some kind of visual clue I'm still missing. Yeah, maybe I should generally be paying a little more attention to some of the other pathing that we see off the playable area. I don't see how that would help anything, though, if we are somehow unable to, return to the other side with the knowledge clue I have in mind. Yeah, it does seem kind of strange that I would not be able to take the mole through with me. I mean, I know that we kind of know that you can't take the mole through the pipe the same way that you can't take it through the door. I kind of want to try it regardless, just to be absolutely certain. It's never quite safe to take these things on faith, even if we're fairly certain that doesn't work. Assuming I have a way to do it. It's a lot telling you that the SMB2 gates that you get may eventually be relevant. Let's leave this guy down. See if there's anything that we can do at all. 2 moles in play. Probably not. Severely doubt it. A little bit of experimentation never quite hurts. And yeah, it just pops. Okay. I thought so. I thought so. That was the expectation. So having the SMB2 mushroom available from the pipes does what? It gives you a power-up refresh to save your progress. Does it do anything else that is useful? And safety of man, safety of man. We finally have a channel at Discord. I know that people had been asking about it on the previous stream over the weekend when you were around, and so yeah, we finally do have a point of contact when we are not on a streaming day. And trying to bring in some pretty high-powered Mario Maker expertise into that community already. So yeah, if you punch in !Discord, you will have the link. So yeah, we're still waiting for some kind of mental breakthrough when it comes to what to do about the presumptive mole spawn on the right side there. I feel like there's some kind of positioning thing that I don't have yet. Like, we know that moles are activated by proximity, but what do I need to be proximate to that is unlocked by the fact of having SMB2 to give us the high jump? That's one way to think about this. What's a location that we previously could not reach? I think there's a very strong implication that we should be coming through here with an on-state, though, or with an off-state, rather, to match the dotted line clue that we received at the end of this segment. We are going to run out of time on this little research trip. I mean, that's sort of the nature of puzzle levels, that you are just going to have some zero progress attempts sometimes when you try to figure things out. It is just going to happen. We'll just need to be much more careful about observing. Okay, so we know that there's a mole spawn that's sort of in this corner here. Let me just take a look at proximity again. I think, yeah, the mole is just on screen. Interesting. That one is within range of wanting to pop out right away, but later on, the single hard block is not. That the single hard block requires proximity. It may be something just to do with your vertical position. So, for example, we are right now within 3 tiles vertically of this spot here. I'm trying to remember how this works because, of course, I have seen some levels that were mole-based before, and I believe... like, this wasn't a Nintendo Ninja concept, was it? I feel like I'm confusing it with the Bonsai Bill Ninja level, because the mole level that I had seen that uses escorting moles up columns, which was something that I think I found through viewer levels, was also in something like Super Mario World Desert. You spent about 2 hours trying to get through Welcome to the Machine. Yeah, that's Lecter's level. I was kind of surprised it took you 2 hours. But the boss I thought was particularly satisfying on that one, in terms of the build-up and how distinct each of the phases felt, so... But I really do love Lecter's levels. I think Lecter just has one of the best senses of humor in all of Mario Maker. Let's come back here and think about that mole position once again. Okay, so let's say I respawn through here. Here's what I'm going to try. Notice that the mole hasn't spawned yet. Spawn yet? No spawn yet. Wait. Okay, go left to right. And that mole appears directly. So here's the question. The question is, why does the mole in the horizontal world not spawn until you approach the hard block? That's one mechanical conundrum that has yet to be resolved, because all of the other moles so far have activated by themselves. It looks like the box is telling you about the activation zone. So the box isn't just there to tell you what is dead center, the box is there to tell you what is the range at which the mole activates. We can try that by testing it on this corner here. Look at that. We poke this corner, the mole comes out. So, what is the range we're looking at? We're looking at 3 blocks down, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks wide. No, sorry, 3 blocks, not including the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks, not including the center. Okay, that's the vital clue that we need, and that's the thing that I had not been thinking about with the previous mole activations, is how we might already be in range. So let's get back over here. Think about the mole position in terms of approaching the red block carefully. So 6 tiles wide is going to give you everything up to this column on the left. 3 tiles down is going to give you everything down to this level when it comes to hard blocks. 6 tiles wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 means that we need to somehow get up here. Curious. Because you can see how everything is spaced precisely to prevent an activation, even if you were in the correct range to do that. Although the thing that would become relevant then is dropping down towards this part of the level. And we know that this dark space over here, like all of the dark spaces, not covered with a semi-solid background, they seem to be inaccessible. That seems to be consistent in this level, that all of the accessible locations are marked with semi-solids. All of the closed-off locations are marked with blank space. I think that is something that is visually very reliable from what we've seen so far. So as you can see, because the activation range is within 6 blocks, let's say the mole is buried in the ice block. Let's suppose the mole is buried in the ice block. If it were, that would have been within range, so the mole is probably supposed to be buried in red block. Oh, we knew that all along. Wait a minute, why didn't we... Oh, okay. You need to get within range of the destination location, not the origin location. That's important information. That's very important information about how the mole activates. So this level basically teaches you the central mechanic of mole activation, which is the available destination block is your target within a range of 6 tiles side to side and 3 tiles up and down, not inclusive. So, major progress. Major progress. Having the spike blocks destroy that means that we need to get through the reset door in order to hit the vine and go all the way back up. It only worked because I jumped from the hard blocks. Yeah. Interesting. I wonder what the logic behind the interaction is then. Obviously, I needed to get within range, and I think I was just maybe giving up too soon on the range that I needed from this location. Because obviously the clues in the other room gave me the activation zone. Once I saw what the activation zone was supposed to be, then I could see how the only way to reach it is to approach it this side. I might have done that accidentally earlier, but even if I had done it accidentally, I wouldn't have understood it well enough to do it consistently. So I'm glad I actually saw it properly. Anyway, this is going to give you access to these reset doors, which will then give you access to the mole that comes out here. Mole that comes out here. Oh, here's the activation zone once again. It's going to come down, and then we can go through the pipe, but we can also just skip the pipe, which might lead you to some kind of important clue. And I want to, first of all, try out the thing I was talking about earlier, which is to crouch, rise, jump. I don't know what was in that pipe to the right. Possibly it was something that would actually give me the key. But in the meantime, we're able to wrap around to this segment here. Yes. It looks like there is going to be some kind of activation. Oh, okay. I guess that will probably be important as a clue then. So why don't we actually just grab another mole. Mole detection defies easy explanation, yeah. I feel like it's something that I should have learned from other levels I've played, and which I hadn't remembered. Just from lack of recent experience or systematic experience. Like, a lot of things can get you into trouble with puzzle levels when you just try to eyeball them. Now, I haven't been in this zone at all. This is important because it tells me about the red and blue interaction in terms of being able to send a mole all the way up to the top column. We'll respawn at checkpoint and check out this zone in a little more detail. Because currently, we have the pathway that gets us up to the key. That's important. Like, we know how to... Oh, not the key, rather. We know how to get up to the key door on the left side. So that is effectively solved. First, we need to get the key, which I believe probably be out this way. Yeah, understanding the activation zone is the main breakthrough we needed, and the main thing that is, I think, a bit of a signal reading thing in this level. The other thing is that sometimes when I execute something inaccurately, I do have a tendency to give up on it too early, even if it is the right solution, which was just executed inaccurately. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get into this activation box, tap this, and then... yeah, that's going to show me that... No, I know what to do here in terms of tapping the block again once it goes through, grabbing the mole to go through here, which is an interaction we know. Let's hit reset door. Yep, I know how to do this. So, it's going to be get within the destination block, tap this, send it through, tap the other block, send that mole through, acquire the mole, use the mole to get through the tracks here. Okay. Question block down here looks like it's probably a spike ball break. Yes, that's correct. In order to preserve your progress. Also here, it looks like these are signaling blocks. I wonder if taking a clown car through does anything. No. Now I know in Mario Maker 1 it was possible to sneak the clown car through a 2-tile spot. I don't know if it's possible to force that with Maker 2, and in any case that seems fussy. What we should be doing instead is taking the car up. The way you take the car up is by dropping an object into it, such as a power-up or indeed a mole. But if we can find a way to get the mole to... Oh, you know what? I have a solution. Spike Ball has broken this. We have access this way. We just need to grab the mole from lower segment here. Drop the mole in the clown car. Clown car gets above blocks. Alternatively, we could have just ridden the clown car and popped all that stuff. But I feel like we need the mole in order to kind of get to the other side. Ah, you know what? I actually do want to activate some of those blocks. The reason I want to activate some of those blocks is because then you can throw the mole into the slot that's above the middle block. Once the mole is in that slot, you can go through the pipe. So do I want to do the mole in the clown car yet? I think maybe yes, because I need to escort the mole through before these blocks have been activated. So let's come through. Now, SMB2 is going to let me ride him out. Mole is not going to follow me horizontally currently, but I can take it across. I should probably drop the mole once again so I don't accidentally kill it. There we go. And let's try to get him nice and low. Hang on. Probably a better systematic way to do this, but instead we'll throw the mole there and proceed. So that's going to be a clue that when you see mushroom platforms like that, activating... Well, I mean, I don't know if they'll involve mushroom platforms specifically. That may be a distinct visual clue, but the thing is, there will be circumstances where we want to activate a row of 3 invisible blocks such that a mole can run across one destination to the other. Do we know what that's going to be yet? No. But I do know that it might be possible to take the clown car up. Through here. If I did take the clown car up through here, does that give me anything useful? No, because of this 2-tile blockage over here. But it may be an important visual clue to get me through something in the main world. In terms of activating certain blocks on purpose, such that we're able to escort a mole the way that we would want. So let's get back here. And let's see if our knowledge gain, when it comes to things like these guys over here, these mushroom platforms, is going to do anything useful for us, because we do know now that there are blocks that are available in the middle, in the slots that are between the 3 mushroom platforms. It's just a matter of figuring out how we're going to access that. One of the ways we're going to access that is by getting back up top. Thinking about how we can create the opportunity to hit blocks that are in between the mushroom platforms. I don't have that yet, although it may involve like dropping a donut block from way up high or something. Let's get back up top so we can see. Because if it's like a really long donut block drop, that's one possible approach. And it's not. But Yeah, look at that up there. That's potentially important. Okay. Maybe not. Mushroom platforms aside. I think the idea is that our goal should be to activate the middle block such that they spawn vines. Vines take us up. Then how do I get on a surface that allows me to do that? That's an interesting question. We do that by... Yeah. I mean, it's kind of strange because the clue seems to be mole rides this across. Why would we want the mole to ride that across? Let's see how much height I get off this jump here. Quite possibly, if I ride a mole in the middle, it'll give me enough height, but I somehow doubt that's the case from the positioning of the clue that we saw earlier, but it is worth a try. There's something that is a knowledge-based clue that we haven't seen. Also notice how the mole is kind of trapped in this segment here. Also notice that when I do the high jump, yeah, it is just short of reaching the spot I wanted, and that's what I figured. So is there a way to do something like a mole stack? Or to think about escorting a mole through here that goes all the way up? Yeah, okay. Alright, and maybe once again we are missing some kind of knowledge-based clue. Just have to be very clear about that. We're just going to pop this open once again. There could be some kind of clue on the other side that is vital. Also, we haven't made use of this guy here. SMB2. Once again, this seems to get you close to the activation zone down there. When you see the activation zone here, one thing I can do, now that we've already opened this up, the spike ball, is by using the on-off on the bottom right in order to send a mole up. Hang on. Yeah, that was the thing I gave up on too soon earlier. Oh, nope, too late. Let's try that again faster. The idea is to send a mole all the way to the top and to follow it. This does have a certain timing involved. Send it through, tap that again. Tap this guy. Up we go. There should be a mole that is now available up top here. There is a second mole that we can then place. Assuming they can stack, and instead of thinking about stacking them, I should actually think about using one mole to allow me to carry another mole up to the top. And, oh, let's not lose this guy. He is going to run safely across the donut block. Okay, great. Okay. Let's, first of all, not die, and not kill moles either. Let's not despawn them off screen either, given how that guy spawned from rather far away. Let's take this guy through. So this is going to be something new in terms of what I'm able to do. What I want to do now is ride the mole down out of the mushroom platform. I ride the mole down, and then I use that to hit the blocks in the middle. Key. Okay. Interesting that it gives me one key. I'm really now wondering about the other two blocks, if I had a chance to hit them, because I feel like they would give me something if I tried them. I feel like ever since I managed to make the breakthrough... Oh, I see the mole that survived is the one that is in the top position. Okay. Ever since I made the breakthrough of understanding the detection, a lot of things have happened quite conveniently. Let's try this activation once more. Okay. Just to get the other mole in play. I feel like the lower one, to save time, is the one we should be taking across. It's not too far off screen. And I just want to check the other blocks that are beside the one that we just hit. Okay, I see. They are just additional keys, so that is just a check to allow you to hit any of those inaccurately. And yet there is a maximum of 1 key in this level. That's an important clue, by the way. But we know that additional keys are not necessary to collect in order to reach something like the Cake Secret. Okay, so this is new content. This is telling me something important. That these tracks indicate blocks. Clown Car is again telling me something important in that we can, of course, dump something in the Clown Car in order to send it up. We do not yet have that thing, but the fact that we have a similar on-off suggests to me that eventually there will be some mole control. Take some mole up top, for example, through reactivating this column. I don't see why that would make a difference, because either way a mole would come down. But yeah, if you manage to get something like a mole that you dump in here, you send the Clown Car through, you grab the Clown Car, you manage to ride it over to the other side. Yeah, Clown Car... Okay, maybe not, actually. Interesting. Well, let's scout. Scouting is important. Ah, okay, this breaks you through below the segment that we had seen earlier, which is important because we know how to get a mole down here. And since we already know how to get a mole down here, let's, in fact, do that. Really do enjoy how some of these moles can be used over and over in multiple states. At different points in the level, you are taking the same mole spawn and applying it to different contexts. So the mole release that was wrong in one segment can be correct again later. Why do I want to send the Clown Car up now? It shouldn't be a clue to the earlier Clown Car because, you know, we saw the other Clown Car first, basically. I don't really know why we want to send it through. Also, I don't know if we would be able to get the height to do so through that vine anyway, so... Oh! That's incorrect. But that gives me the checkpoint, so maybe that's not an issue. Okay. I was just sort of over-reading my various abilities there, unless, of course, that is somehow access to a secret route. It is very tempting to check. I only have 60 seconds, but I did get a checkpoint, so I'm not at all concerned about that. So we can always just poke around post-checkpoint after I get reset on the clock anyway. We haven't checked this door to see what it's all about. Oh, I should have remembered that it's going to get rid of all. But anyway, yeah, that's just a bit of a progress marker in terms of making it possible for me to come around. I think the clown card there might just be a clown card clue, but it's very difficult to say. Because if I were coming down through here, I don't have nearly the height that I need in order to get through, nor do I have access to the on-off state, so... I feel like if there is... Oh, you know what? No. Why don't I just... Oh, I see, because... Never mind. That seems like it has lock potential. Like, if you hop into the clown card there... I mean, you could maybe theoretically get out, but that seems unlikely. So that seems maybe a little bit unconventional by 4YMM standards. Even if you can get out of there, it seems fussy, but maybe there's something about it that I'm missing. Oh, Rocky Wrench. Looks like we'll have to watch out for projectiles from Rocky Wrench. Okay, so Rocky Wrench can just be nuked, right? Or no, he's actually... Yeah, you send him up using that. And that allows you to obtain him. Okay. Nice to have a lot of these mechanics clarified. Grabbing him at this point, though, doesn't really do anything useful for me, does it? Unless there is... like, it's almost like it's just a tutorial spot to make sure you know how it works. But I do want eventually to cart him over. Possibly I can toss him through the wall? No. Also, looks like I just have a key because the key spawn would be what allows me to have access to the level prior to this point, obviously, past the key door. Know that there is one key limit. So, Rocky Wrench was sent up here. I feel like I actually needed to send him partly up and then release him so I could grab him down below. Although that may be incorrect given the nature of the donut block here. So for example, if I had him spawn... Oh, okay, no, because I don't want to release him inside the empty trapdoor anyway, so... This was, in fact, correct in terms of progression. That I need Rocky Wrench to appear on this level, and then what do I do with him? We'll find out in just a moment. There must be some kind of location where I can throw him safely. Ah, oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Using the fact that he falls directly through semi-solids. That's a fascinating moment. Very rarely seen interaction, I think. Very rarely seen. Absolutely fascinating moment. But then I need to do something in order to get him up, possibly involving the donut block. Yeah, Lantis, that's a really neat interaction. And the way I would do it is this. That I think I need to drop Rocky Wrench this location here. Nope. One tile further. Nope. One tile further. And then use the on-off to send him up the central column. Watch this, watch this, watch this. Go, go, go. I don't know why I hit that twice. Didn't need to. But yeah, now he's all the way up there. And we can go get him. Really interesting sequence. I love this moment with the semi-solid. Absolutely love it. Just one of those highlight moments in a puzzle sequence, I think. Even if it is something that's sort of intuitive and rather than being really new, it's just so uncommon, and yet totally in keeping with the mechanic of the level. So here's the visual clue that we now have, which is the blue block on the right side of that sequence when things are set to off. We know that so far the V indicators, the consummate Vs, do mark an invisible block, and that's going to possibly take us up. So that's important. Let's make our way back across using the key that we got past CP2. And yeah, consummate Vs. Let's see how we could get back around. Wasn't there? Oh yeah, spike block, which breaks everything, which is great. Yeah, we came in through that key door earlier. Sometimes I just don't pay attention to my entry points. We need to toggle on and off, not here, but probably, I think, through the original segment here. That's the best place to do it. Because we have a scroll break. And we have access to a mole here. Yeah. Once again, reading the box as the activation zone was really the only thing that was a real stumper at first. And moreover, reading the fact that the mole spawn is based on proximity to the escape destination for the mole. That was, I think, the main breakthrough in the level, like the main sort of thing that we had to stare at for a while before getting it. Oh, also, when that is broken with the spike balls, how far does that take you? I don't remember, but... Oh, okay, no, that was the spike ball. What were we even doing? Yes, getting all the way back up to the top with the on state. Because of this spot here. However, in order to tap this spot, I think I need to do the same thing as before where I had the mole ride. Takes me directly under this location. Oh, no I don't. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Oh hey, there's the speedrun tech right there. You just come down here. Although when you come down here initially, you're small Mario, so I don't think you can hit that. Can you? Oh no, it's only a couple blocks high. I feel like you should be able to. Although I think when you drop in initially, maybe you have already set the state to off. Or have you? I don't know. But we'll grab a 50 coin. And we'll worry about that later when we inevitably hunt for the cake because I've been missing it all this time. Rocky Wrench going to come up here and give us access to something. Yeah, I want to think about a vertical column that I can send him up in order to access something else. Yeah, having a Rocky Wrench here is new. Being able to drop him in a specific location is the thing that is the breakthrough. Is there a specific column that I can drop him into in order to send him up? Like a specific location that I would be using. Got 30 seconds to find that out. And yes, there is. The location is the one here that allows me, with a 3-block range, to drop him, send him up, send him up. Actually, no, we could have just grabbed him down here, but let's unlock. No, we can't unlock like that. Okay. So that was wrong. I needed to leave the state to off, such that he pops out here, get in here, grab the guy, pop him in the clown car. Popping him in the clown car does what? Not sure yet. But we'll find out in just a moment. Obviously, we have everything we need from this segment in terms of a knowledge check. We'll just come back over here. break the scroll. We will eventually unlock that door once again, but let's come through here first to see what we were doing. Ah, yes, on-off state switch. So let's grab the mole. I think the prospects for trying to sequence break this level must be very interesting. I haven't looked at the current speed record and seen what is done with it. I also don't know how tested this was against like really weird sequence breaks. When, you know, sequence breaks are kind of essentially a part of the Tokitori format that this is based on. Like, Tokitori was kind of designed around the expectation that your knowledge would allow you to sequence break. It's actually a very good Mark Brown video on a subject that I have not watched in its entirety because I didn't want to spoil some of the Tokitori puzzles that I have not yet finished. So I was very early in that game. And yeah, safety of man, if you need to bail out for now, do get some sleep and study. Or shut-eye, rather. I read that as study for some reason. Yeah, enjoy the shut-eye. Hope to see you around here or in the new Discord. And we'll be back with fewer levels on Thursday, I think, if you have anything new to show me. Okay, we have the fun state. Going here, we're going to have access to the Rocky Wrench and access to a clown car via Rocky Wrench. So let's just do that whole sequence once more. Current record is like 3 minutes. Yeah, I thought I saw that at the beginning. I just didn't remember it. I gotta say, this has been such a satisfying sequence to work out. I feel like it's gone very smoothly since the initial breakthrough. That after getting stumped for a while with the activation, once we learned how to acquire moles on demand whenever we wanted, everything just started coming together. With some really nice little aha moments that clarified how certain interactions were supposed to work. Okay, I need... oh, I see. So that does, in fact, need to be in the on state in order for me to escape, because if I hit this again, he's just going to go pop through and go up top, right? So I feel like I need to drop him somewhere safely. That allows me to send him through. You know what? No, I don't. What am I talking about? That's ridiculous. We know how semi-solids work. That was one of the best moments in the game. We know how that works. Okay, let's drag him down. I don't know, I'm not just stealing the car, but I can obviously do so. Oh, yeah, that annoying thing that was formerly the scroll break. Let's maybe just steal the clown car now. I think with all of the on-off set to on, I don't know if I have access to SMB2 at the moment. And maybe that precludes me. Oh, wait, no. Let's grab SMB2. We might need it for the key, for the cake route that is out at the beginning. That is the cake route, as I strongly suspect. Let's make sure we don't lose the clown car. Let me find a safe spot for reacquiring a mushroom. It's a wonderful level. I absolutely agree with that, Mike Universe. I mean, this is very much my kind of thing. This is exactly my kind of level, in fact. Hey, Kavik, welcome. But yeah, this has been absolutely brilliant. So yeah, let's just pop out of here. And I don't know if the initial... yes, of course we needed the off state, as we knew from the very beginning of the level. That was what we were progressing through the whole time. And okay, so that's going to pop us through here, and that should give me cake. Yeah, Kavik, I have no idea why you were not following. I mean, you've been here often enough. I think you just often see notifications on Discord, etc. when I'm on. Speaking of which, we actually do have a new Discord for this channel that was set up yesterday. I don't know if you need even more Discords, because I'm sure you're in far too many already. But we've got a lot of the regular Maker crew there, and that's just, as with your channel, a bit of a notification hub. I'm not surprised that people would be hating on this level, given what happened to the Yoshi level as well, and to Ragnarok X's also excellent Yoshi level. Some people, I think, really don't have the patience for getting stuck on anything, and that's very unfortunate. We see invisible blocks here and here. This is kind of essentially a bit of a cake, but I feel like there's more to it than that. Yeah, this isn't really obstructing anything. This is going to be a spike ball. No, it's not a spike ball. Oh, okay, because we already have 2 screens wide. Okay. I thought that was going to give me something. Mole is going to come out here. I feel like there's more to this cake room than what we've seen so far. I might just be totally wrong. Yeah, you see moles all over the place. I feel like I need to... Let's take a look at some of the cake room comments to see who else has been here before us. Hey, it's Mang. See, Mang is not very well lit in this level, hence the look at the fiery hairstyle. Holes on her feet. Cake, easy. We have to figure out some kind of inventive comment, because I feel like I've really been kind of letting people down in the comment game when it comes to saying something that's appropriately clever. But let's leave some kind of proof of cake. A crawl. Wait, let's just do lowercase. Crawly. Infection. Oops. Not couldn't. Confection. Which is... It was formerly given to me as a suggestion earlier because I have been using that. Or a mole. There's some kind of adjective that you use with the word mole, like for the type of animal, like an adjective that describes that species, and I just don't remember what it is. Or a mole meringue. We need a questioning face as well. Not quite a questioning face. And let's give it a happy face. I'm very happy with this level. I absolutely love it. And somebody else already threw down a Breaking Bad reference, so you feel like you dropped the ball. Yeah, well, I mean, we can't all be on our cake game after spending so much mental energy just beating the level. Although I think, you know, this one flowed very well after the initial thing. I mean, I did spend, admittedly, a lot of timeouts, like 2 or 3 big timeouts, just on understanding how mole activation ranges work in a very systematic way, but I think this level is designed to teach you that. And as with any puzzle level that is designed to teach you something, there are certain things that are going to get you stuck until you get it, right? Hence the 40-minute clear time, which is spectacular. And, you know, if you're a player who is not up to learning mechanics in a systematic fashion, there's nothing that this level is going to do to help you. When it's already signaling that visually, I think, as clearly as it can, and it's just a matter of going back over clue until you really understand how to read it properly. So hey, let's take a look at the comments in full. We've seen some of the major illustrations already, I think. I don't know if there's anything else. Street Rat has good taste. Street Rat, great streamer as well. Been running a lot of 4YMM, I think. And not just this one. Love the cool mole, very true to the shades that Monty moles like to wear. Ragnarok X is still in the dark. Four Wings, I think, made a very astute observation. And yeah, a lot of you guys ahead of me on this one already, but very, very rewarding to play. Play it again to really trace the chase the 3-minute time from Zerfink. No, I don't think so. I think Zerfink really has this one mapped out. Not really surprising, Zerfink being a bit of a puzzle master in his own right, that he would have a number of the puzzle records when it comes to flowing through this thing. But this really is a level that makes me think about whether there is potential for sequence breaks, depending on how complex the whole mapping is. I don't even think Saku would necessarily mind if there was like some kind of knowledge-based sequence break, just given that it is the kind of level that is set up to reward knowledge and taking shortcuts from knowledge. So anyway, we have one last level to do from 4YMM. Let me just pull out the long description from the website once again. Terminator, I don't know if I will have time on this stream. We are making good time. But if I have time after 4YMM today, I will open the queue. But I just cannot guarantee that at this stage. But we'll let you know. So the last level is going to be Scarlet Overalls Rhapsody. And let's see if we can pull that up. Scarlet Overalls Rhapsody. Vermilius Scarlet is a powerful, immortal vampire. She also has cool music. Now, I believe this is Touhou, right? I'm not really a Touhou player, but I feel like I've learned a ton of stuff about Touhou just from Mr. Electro Dude hanging out on my stream and sending me bullet hells for months. So yeah, Toadette Hakurai travels to the Scarlet Devil Mansion to battle Vermilia Scarlet, the immortal Scarlet Moon, in this homage to the embodiment of Scarlet Devil. The name of the music used is Septet for the Dead Princess. Septet for the Dead Princess. That seems like it is itself a reference to the Pavan for a Dead Princess, which was, of course, a composition for piano later adapted to orchestra by Maurice Ravel, and is also just a wonderful piano composition in its own right, but I think that has nothing to do with the septet apart from the name. So let's just take a look at what Bossman has in store. From Touhou 6, okay. Thank you. I'm really glad I can draw on the knowledge of the viewership when it comes to Touhou trivia. Okay. So far, just kind of a lot of mystery surrounding what the on-off state blocks are doing and what they will be doing to overlay the music tracks like we've seen in so many music levels up to this point. 4YMM, we're done. No, we're not. Okay. Back here again with an altered on-off state and way too much complacency about the hitbox on the Roy projectiles. Given that a lot of the Koopaling projectiles that look like that, like Ludwig's for instance, just have a really generous hit zone when it comes to their artwork. And so sometimes just get a little bit lazy about that stuff. Oh, look at this red zone. It is a Scarlet zone for sure. I am missing something important that I was not paying attention to. Bossman, yes, you do like clouds. Bossman, thank you for dropping by. Nice to see you here. Whoops. It was a real pleasure to play through some of your earlier levels over the weekend as well in preparation for this one. And yeah, definitely enjoying a lot of the music levels in 4YMM so far that make use of this sort of multi-track layering and state changing that happens with the on-off blocks. Ah, okay. Drop into the cloud. Okay, I don't know how I just failed to drop into the cloud. last time I was here. I think I was just inattentive. Probably jumped right out of that without paying attention to that. Okay, checkpoint. There was a coin up top that I totally missed. We'll have to redo this for the coin route. Although I'm supposed to go through this twice, so obviously only about half the coins are obtainable on the first run. We need to get the rest of them on an additional run, I think. And it looks like this might just be repeatable? No, okay. 5 coins. Yeah, that's just a required key. No safety coin, obviously, because it is all after that checkpoint. You would love to play Touhou 6 when it comes out on Steam in like 2 years? Oh, was that the situation with it? Okay, is this the only cake, like on the right, or is there another secret that I'm missing? Because we have been trying to do 100%. So I don't know, Bossman can confirm if we missed anything really serious. But yeah, as with a lot of the auto-scrollers and music levels, the call snapping up all the records. Let's take a look at the answers. I missed something, but it's not a cake. We'll definitely go back and look at it, because I have been trying to do 100% of all secrets, including non-cakes, when I know that they exist. Sometimes it's not totally clear that they do exist, but that's why we check. Wow, look at that one. Canada, really contributing some nice artwork, as always. And more cake gangs. Bit of a celebration from Lantis. No cake for Kantos again. And more people who recognize the music. And a little something from Mang, as usual. And yeah, that fellow being a little more on the abstract side. Sure, let's take another look. Yeah, that is a wonderful drawing. I can see it in the panorama, sure. And yeah, Electrodude, it's too bad you had the strain injury that you were dealing with, because I was remarking on how, you know, Touhou level seems to be exactly your kind of thing. And okay, I guess we might just be missing the top right, unless there's something else I'm supposed to detect when it comes to an entrance. I don't know if that was accessible by a door. It didn't look that way. So yeah, we have the music layout, we have reset door at the, not a reset door, but rather the state change door at the beginning. I think that might indicate that we're done, right? Or is there something that was supposed to be accessible from within the level? Pretty easy hint in the thumbnail, probably. There usually is. I mean, there's that block that was to the left of the cake. Which, you know, let's just do this again. Just do this again. It's a fun one. It's nice to just kind of step through these as a bit of a dessert. As we've been doing with the music levels every week. I mean, I guess the Celeste level from Death Despised last week was a slightly more punishing dessert than usual, but we definitely managed to do everything with that as well. Oh, okay. No, I was just kind of stopped at the arrow for a moment. It gave me no problem the first time around, and I don't know why it did now. Okay. Yeah, I love how you accommodated the, whoops, slight change in rhythm in the melody that we just heard there. I don't really know the original track, obviously, not really being somebody who is a Touhou specialist, like so many of you seem to be. I'm kind of astonished by just like how well known Touhou tends to be among Mario Maker people. I mean, I guess that's just relative to me. But it's one of those where it's like, there are certain knowledge disparities that you see in various communities when it comes to stuff that everybody seems to know or stuff that you seem to know, and this is one of those disparities. Okay. Let's jump right through. Get through some of the Bowser Fire. For YMM checkpoints. Yeah, it is much more relaxing compared to some of the other boss man levels I've played past, for sure. But I remember... why am I doing that? Every now and then I look at, okay, is there any kind of trigger that would indicate restarting from checkpoint is something that's doing anything different? Let's just... You know, after playing Nabuza's level earlier today, I'm just totally conditioned to thinking that I can just jump into these on-off block clusters and get trapped. Still haven't quite broken out of that mentality. Yeah, really nice track in this phase as well. Okay, so all we're doing here in replaying this is I'm going to check that supposedly obvious spot that was next to the cake in the thumbnail. We'll just pop this and loop back around. Wow, I missed a coin. Okay, we just have to redo this. That's okay. If we maintain this in the on state, we just need to redo this anyhow. That was just flagrant inaccuracy. Seems like my first series of attempts on this level were much more successful than the other ones, but that's what happens when you start telling yourself, we have all of this down, there's nothing to worry about. Okay. Ding dong. Oh, okay. Now we've seen this for real. And let's just drop back down. And that's a clear. Okay, so that's all secrets for this week. That's pretty much going to be the end of week 7. Now, I did finish kind of ahead of the time I was allotting for this stream. So what I am going to do, now that we've closed out the 4YMM set in what was already a bit of an overflow stream, is that since we have so many great makers here, I am going to open the queue for one quick round of submissions. It's going to be a very quick opening, and I'm just going to take a round of submissions while I go on a water break or something for a minute, and then I'm going to close that pretty much right away depending on how many we get, and just to get through a very quick pile from people who are willing or interested in staying. Have I played your spider level? Minibarf, I am trying to remember if I have, because I was keeping up with almost every one of yours for a while, but recently I've been quite backlogged. Since even when I'm playing the backlog, I've been playing like other levels by 4YMM makers, so if you want to submit that, you can. If I've already played it, I'm sure that there might be something from you that I'm missing from recent weeks. And yeah, Bossman, thank you so much for dropping by. So, Terminator, queue's not open yet. Just give me 1 minute to get the bot up and running. And thank you once again to all of the contributors, in particular to this week's edition of 4YMM. I thought the levels were absolutely fantastic. I do think that the Saku puzzle in particular has been a major highlight of the project. And I will open up the queue in just a moment.